Mania Jisu Son Angava Nagu Myok Samadhi Sacha Nimite Kaina Eradi SADHU Electric Ponsabiro Machela Shilim Piatovavi Susai Nathone Yogi Solution a day by Shishin Tigomaya Did it see Jayo there die Shoku Myok Jesus Swan Inga Celebrity Pure.
Yesterday, Sayadawgyi spoke about the fifth cause for the 5 ruling faculties to become sharp. Samadhi cha nimeta gahena. And he spoke about this in terms of theory and practice. He spoke in a way that was neither brief nor in great detail. And the yogis who listen carefully should understand clearly the meaning of what was said. Today, he will talk about the 6th cause for the 5 ruling faculties to be sharp.
Yogilo web chip, Ya Lulu web chip, Santa Lulu web chip. Joshi me Lurku, Sabi solution. Masumapo Lene, Mapiopa de Lula Uria Lineado. Benine Mamianimo. You did it. Sisi Sasa Miamanavoli. Lila Naima. Samapia Chinema. Dhamma allegedly called Madhyari Tila Naimara. Beloved, I don't have Poguria, I don't. Kobeka Loni Luciano, Benina Mapsenham. Peduga, baby of Kanyuga, you did him Kanyugu. The Aoe, Joshis on a Tom Shaw solution. Pay as you let them Manapo. Diamolo, Cheese on it. Beautiful, Peter solution, can you do it? You did it, can you beat up? Don't shut up, don't trouble, you keep it.
Whether it's due to faith or due to desire to gain something, or whether it's just as an experiment. Once one has started a task, one can't gain the benefits for nothing. So one has to study what needs to be done with respect and care and continuity. And then one will gain good practice if one works in this way. And one will come to know the true Dhamma. So when we receive something, if someone gives us something, if the recipient doesn't receive it in a respectful way, or if they don't use what is received appropriately, then it's not worth giving the gift. So it's very important for the recipients to use the gift respectfully, to receive the gift respectfully, and to use it.
ဘုန်းကြီးတို့ဗုဒ္ဓယဉ်ကျေးမှုမှာဗုဒ္ဓသာသနာမှာသုံးနှုန်းတစ်ခုရှိပါတယ်ဘောဓိအရေးကြီးဆုံးပဲဘောဓိဆိုတာသိရပါပဲဘာတွေသိတာတော့ဆိုတော့ဆင်းရဲအမှန်တရားဆင်းရဲဖြစ်ကြောင်းအမှန်တရားဆင်းရဲငြိမ်းရာအမှန်တရားနဲ့ဆင်းရဲငြိမ်းရာသို့ရောက်ကြောင်းအကျင့်လမ်းကြောင်းအမှန်တရားဒီလေးမျိုးပါပဲအဲ့ဒါတွေသိဖို့အရေးကြီးပါတယ်အဲ့ဒါတွေကိုဆင်းရဲတရားတွေကိုဘယ်လိုပိုင်းခြားသိတဲ့နည်းဆင်းရဲတရားတွေကိုပိုင်းခြားသိခြင်းအပြင်ဒါတွေကိုဖြစ်ခိုက်လိုက်ပြီးတော့မရှိတဲ့အတွက်တရားတဲမှုဆင်းရဲကြီးအကြောင်းကင်းသွားလုပ်တဲ့နည်းယုံနာတရားတွေဒီခါလေးချုပ်ငိမ့်သွားတာချုပ်ငိမ့်သွားတဲ့သဘောအစပိုင်းတော့မသိသေးဘူးပေါ့လေနောက်ပိုင်းတော့သိလို့မှာပါပဲအဲဒီချုပ်ငိမ့်သို့ရောက်ကြောင်းအကျင့်ကောင်းအကျင့်မှန်တွေကိုသိခြင်းလေးပိုင်းရှိပါတယ်တော့အဲ့ဒါအမှန်တရားတွေဆိုထားပါတယ်အဲ့ဒီအမှန်တရားတွေ၄ပါးတွေကရှေ့ပိုင်းဒုက္ခသစ္စာနဲ့သမုဒယသစ္စာကတော့လောကီသစ္စာလို့ဆိုပါတယ်နောက်တစ်ခုကတော့လောကုတ္တရာသစ္စာလို့ခေါ်ပါတယ်လောကီသစ္စာကတော့ကိုယ်မှာထင်ရှားနေတာဖြစ်တော့တကယ်လက်တွေ့လေ့လာမယ်ဆိုလို့ရှိရင်လောကီသစ္စာနှစ်ပါးကိုပဲလေ့လာရမှာပါပဲအဲ့ဒါတွေသိဖို့ပါပဲဉာဏ်သစ္စာနှစ်ပါးကတော့ကိုယ်မှာဖြစ်သေးတာမဟုတ်တော့လေ့လာဖို့မလိုသေးပါဘူးအဲ့ဒါလေးတော့နားလည်ထားဖို့လိုပါတယ်
In the Buddha's teaching, in Buddha Sasana, there are three things. And the first, Bodhi. Bodhi is the most important. And this means knowing or knowledge. So what is known? What is to be known? The truth of suffering, the truth of the cause, the truth of the cause of suffering, the truth of the cessation, the dying down of suffering, the truth of the path that leads to the dying down, cessation of suffering. These four things. And to know these four is very important. So the method to know the truth of suffering, to be able to discern it. And because one doesn't observe this truth of suffering at the moment of arising, then the cause for suffering arises. So there's a method for eliminating the cause. And how the truth of how suffering and its cause cease. How suffering ceases, one doesn't know at first. And then then there's the path leading to the cessation. So this is the true Dhamma. And the first two of these four truths are the worldly truth. The second two are the supramundane truths, the truths that are beyond the world. The worldly truths are evident in one's being, and so we need to research these, we need to study these. The remaining two truths have not yet arisen in us, and so there's no need to try to study them.
ဒီသစ္စာလေးပါးတွေက လောကီသစ္စာကိုပထမဆုံးစပြီးတော့အလုပ်လုပ်ရပါတယ်အဲ့ဒါဒီသိအောင်ရေးကြည့်ပါတယ်ကြည့်ဖို့နဲ့ပယ်သေးတယ်ဟာပယ်ဖို့ဉာဏ်သစ္စာနှစ်ပါးတော့သူတို့ခုံကြီးကိုနားလေထားယုံမြဒါလို့ဆိုလုံလောက်ပါပြီလို့ကျန်ကများလည်းအဆိုရှိပါတယ်တဘာဝလေးကြပါတယ်ဒီပထမဆုံးတကယ်ကိုအမှန်တရားတွေသိလို့ပြီဆိုရင်ဥက္ကဟပရိပု္ပ္ပာဆိုတာဆိုထားပါတယ်ဥက္ကဟဆိုတာကျမ်းစာပေါ့အတူချုပ်ပေါ့ဒါရဲ့သစ္စာခေါ်တယ်၄ပါးရှိတယ်ဒုက္ခသစ္စာဘာခေါ်တယ်သမုဒယသစ္စာဘာခေါ်တယ်နိရောဓသစ္စာဘာခေါ်တယ်မဂ္ဂသစ္စာဘာခေါ်တယ်ဆိုတာပေါ့အတူချုပ်အဲ့ဒီအတူချုပ်အဓိပ္ပာယ်မသိလို့ရှိရင်ဆရာနဲ့ဆွေးနွေးနိုင်ပါတယ်ပရိပု္ပ္ပာဆိုတာပေါ့လေဒါပထမဆုံးအစသူတရားဟောတဲ့အခါလေအဲ့ဒီလိုဟာလေးလုတ်ပြီးတဲ့သဘောပါပဲတရားစစ်တာလည်းပဲတဲ့ဥက္ကပရိပု္ပ္ပာဆိုတာပေါ့လေအတူချုပ်ကပ္ပတန်ဆရာကတင်ပြတဲ့ဤအတူချုပ်ပြောပြမေးရတယ်မင်းမြန်ရတယ်ပေါ့ဆွေးနွေးရတယ်ပေါ့ဒါတွေပေါ့အဲဒီလုတ်တဲ့သဘောပါပဲဒါပထမဆုံးအရေးကြီးပါတယ်
Among the four truths, the worldly truths are to be known and to be dispelled. The remaining two, we just need to understand what their qualities are. This is what the texts say, and this is natural. In order to know, first of all, there must be ogaha. That means that one has to hear about, in brief, these are the Four Noble Truths. There's the truth of suffering, the truth of its cause, the truth of its cessation, and the truth of the path leading to it. So that's first. And then there's paripocha, which means to discuss. If one doesn't know about these, then one discusses with the teacher. And giving the Dhamma talks is in the nature of ogaha and paripocha. So it's giving the method in brief. And so is the interview with the teacher. The teacher gives the method in summary, and then there's discussion and a chance to ask questions. So at first, this is very important.
Loki thissa napagaro gambira nelu minain khereတရားတွေလို့ဒီလိုဆိုပါတယ်မြင်ရဘူးမသိရဘူးဆိုတော့အဲ့ဒီစီးရဲတော့မပါဘူးမြင်နိုင်ခဲ့တယ်တဲ့မြင်ရဖို့ရခဲနေတယ်မနဒုက္ခကိုဒုက္ခသစ္စာမှာအသေးစိတ်ကစသိဖို့ရအဲ့ဒါတွေကိုအကောင်းထင်ပြီးတော့တာယာတက်မဲ့တဲ့သူတွေကလည်းပဲနဲ့နေတဲ့သဘောမဟုတ်လို့မြင်နိုင်ခဲ့တယ်လို့ဆိုပါတယ်ဉာဏ်သစ္စာနှစ်ပါးကတော့ကိုယ်မှာတရားထုတ်တာလည်းမရှိသေးတော့မမြင်ရသေးဘူးမြင်ဖို့ရခဲရတဲ့အတွက်နည်းနည်းတဲ့တရားတွေလို့ဒီလိုဆိုထားပါတယ်အဲ့တော့သူတို့ကတော့တမကြီးရမယ်တရားတွေမဟုတ်ပါဘူးရှေ့ပိုင်းနှစ်ပါးပြည့်စုံသွားလို့ရှိရင်အလိုလိုပဲဒီသစ္စာနှစ်ပါးအလိုလိုသိလာမှာပါပဲဒီမှာလမ်းကြောင်းကြီးတဲ့လမ်းကြောင်းကြီးမှန်ပြီးတော့ဗောလေနောက်ဆုံးယုံနာတစ်ပါးချုပ်ရင်းတဲ့နိဗ္ဗာန်ကိုတွေ့တော့မှာအဲ့ဒါတွေကတော့သူရဲ့ဂုဏ်ကြီးတိထားရုံပဲဒါလို့ဆိုလုံလောက်ပြီတဲ့
The worldly truths, the two worldly truths, are profound and hard to see. So they are hard to see, and in detail. At first, it is hard to see the truth of suffering, and it is hard to see how taking pleasure in this, taking pleasure in suffering. It is difficult to see the cause of suffering. These truths are profound and hard to see. They are hard to see because they are profound, and the remaining two are hard to see. Therefore, they are profound. So when the first two truths are accomplished, then the remaining two truths will automatically be known. So one follows the correct path, and at the end of the path, one comes to the end of nama and rupa, the cessation of nama and rupa, and realization of nibbana. And it is important to know, it is enough to know the qualities of these two second truths.
Shibadisa Nabahu Tibugaro through Theo Beluya Lesora, Patamazu Ni Sawana Ni you are not hard. To what is Sariti, and to Pikai Levido, she was Korea. Nidamia, Jadamia, Nadamia, Sadamia, Tidamia, Quidamia, Sandamia. Midon Kadamia, look it up when I said Korea Pitamia. The Dogati Sari, see, and Mandiari looks so tired. Era counting with the Tayatameda, the Uria Tisa. Tayatameda lower had Uria Tisa, CG, a jowl, looks so tired. The Niapian level era Matida, Timara, Salona, Tameta, Swellana Valley. That's CG, a journey. Era di Nale Tower. Era di True Pitai, Mother. Lower the Pitana, made a little Pitai Maya. Lotari, Pitai Maya. Because Swellani, Marlish in a Dalila, Maya, Pitamia. Pitamia, I call you Maya, Jivego. She might need balloon, that's what I might have. Pikai Shuba, so that Zagalia, through Pitum Pikale Shuba. Pipima Dobby Shulumiao, Londovi, Mapita will ever Secuna Joji Lumiao. Pitum Pisale you at that one. The Pikai Shuma, the Wawa, Tina this Ravoli. Here I horror of Joga, a good tap you are who puts a pitching Chakumio. Jajaran and Nalevoya, she did about it. Era this and not about it. Genima. Not how we pee also the little Malaysia, Darana Sora, Mambio, sound tired. None of this are suicide with your body. Suicide not how your body. These are Mamma that here on body, that I lower body, at a Darana covered. Dale Yichi of it. At the night, how we do Pebung Benny Mayame Suravali, Patini Hari Belumaya, Petina Hari Pelupia, sort of Yoda. Neither town we do body. Naloma Twelushi, the native vehicle, Tibiro, Nalum Natal Namshilushi, the Divago. Taria Narua Divida Rita Honey, Patuma Lesure and Nene, Mamma Nane, Pelulamiabo. Jushi has so in Nene, Mamma Ship. The Pega Peter Let's Hongo, Kong. Can you ever go? You either can you be 2 年 don't shut up for each other. You did the Kayuma, you did Nama, Sadhu kan sawana Dhamma sawana Dharana Mataya Tirana Jalu Maniri TV Soluchi Kota Ya Pielavi Samasana Samasana Sura Pamalu Tonta de Koravabe Tonta de Sura Tibara Vabe Tibara Sura Potato Vabe To watch up your Pitame Yona Diarine Dia Shuma Muneha Mera Titwi Potato Yautu to Kogo Potaji Lucia Madala Jodala Sra, Budala, Nuidala, Edala, Tangala, Tendala Sra, Tatita Babe. Potamu Pita will take ye cheer. Era would have a malu, no long doing for a body. No, there's a 6 year old, Bo Peter the Bobo. Ataba Luna Wuriane, Tumpura, Tere Popo, Zandavole Payabari. As you go to Medan 3 sheep, Eddie Ayo, Tonta mirror about Tiri Mimi, Tonta mirror about Vedama. Pamalo Soloshi, Posmia Ayo, Tiri Mimi, my bars, Ravoli. Poor Sasa Lupa, Nesra, that day, Boda. Era Yogi, second day Mala, Lower my lower. The Guago Tonta Chibo, second name La Lumo. Tiny Kalo the Mohu Tayama Tare Kamaleve. She out Pigina say, Tajina City body. Let it who you could shoot up Yona. That he was Pivi to the Lord. Taramasur let out. As I later. The chair as I later she go leading her. Lepo Yola, Lila, Pila, a colonti to one. Don't show. Now let her come at Slope my yacht of a leading her. Teaching the lemon of Politama, teaching Scientology, Tiber. Hanjam come a go out leading her. Hanjani Dwabi Solution, Mama G. Pidora, don't know if you are going to later in Shiro, don't know if you are. So, Mama, Yapi, a teat, Caradia, a daisy body, Tamadana, Pitamia, I only go look, put me timey. Shumami or lower Baratama. See outside, chain that guy so that I didn't appear lower Baratama. A yapi so yatago, they shall Suzaima. Don't know you. Toyaluchi, Langinama, looks at a cold, dog shot to the door, however. Era Samasana Kovaretama. Era Samasana, Yogimia, Lonima, Natom Vido, Beluchenduya Mesura, Nilan and Tita Visuciano, Samasana Sura Timoli. They charge a poor ione, say that put them your body, that they yet.
So, to know the first truth, to know the truth of suffering. So, how to know it? One has to listen to the method. This is called savana. So to know the truth of suffering, observe at the very moment of arising. When there's bending, stretching, lifting, moving, placing, opening and closing the eyes, these are all the truth of suffering. And to see their cause, one doesn't know or one knows wrongly, and then one takes pleasure, one craves. So one has to understand. And one has to observe every arising. So every time there's an occurrence, every time something occurs, one has to observe it. And how one should do this is at the moment of arising, not after something has already happened, because then it is in the past, and not before, because then it's just something we imagine. It has to be observed while it happens. So, and Sayadawgyi is saying this because he wants people to listen to effectively to the talk that he is going to give about the factors of enlightenment, which is the topic for tonight. So then, following listen to the method, one has to retain it, dharana, one has to remember it. And if one listens to the sound, but then doesn't remember it, then one won't know what is the correct method for knowing the truth of suffering and dispelling its cause. So if one just pushes aside what is being said, thinking, he's talking about this all the time, why is he talking again and again about this? One can't do that. So it's very important to receive the gift with respect and use it. So one has to listen with respect to the Dhamma talk. This is called sadhukang savana. And because of that, then we can remember dharana. And following listening and remembering, one has to do what is sammasana. And that means to really connect with what has been said and to take it to heart. And in Burmese, the word that they use for sammasana means to rub it, to rub something. But if you think about it, when you rub something, then you know the quality. You know whether it's hard, you know whether it's soft, you know whether it's coarse. So in English, I think take something to heart. But this quality of rubbing against the object involves a jhanic factor. So one has to observe every arising object effectively, not carelessly. This is the yogi's job, to be done every second of the time, second after second. And one should consider if we do this or not. It's not just a matter of sitting, not just observing while we sit. At the end of the sitting, then there's stiffness in the legs, aches, and there's the desire to relieve this aching. And because of the desire, one moves one's legs, one supports oneself with one's hand, and applying effort, one observes that. Then one knows what is happening there. Then the attention goes to the legs as one comes up gradually, inch by inch. And if one observes inch by inch this process of standing up, then one will know what is happening. And when one needs to use one's hands for balance, one will know how that feels. And then when the body is finally upright, one will feel the whole standing. So one has to try to note effectively. That means to apply ardent effort to what is arising and aim accurately, so that the mind will be able to connect with the object and have this quality of rubbing against the object. And once one has stood up, then one wants to go. One wants to walk. So there's the wanting to walk, and then the observation of each step one makes. So the yogis listen to the method, and then they know it. And then they should try to apply it. Every object that arises, they should try to make their mind connect with the object effectively. This is very important.
Hello, Tiri Mimi. They were only as a Chizaga see as a video. Manina Miyavi solution. And it might be the I was secretly Sacha and Sacha. The warrior, the Tiri Rora. Mare the water, Pure the water, Janet the water, Union the water. Market the water, Pure carried the water, Buddha the water, Aided the water, down at dinner, loaded the water, Sadhhu. Did the water, tweeted the water, consulted the water, Saravali. Naribo. Here in a state. Put up a Miyavi solution or Pati Weda Saravati 220 Larave. The Yellow Miyavu Editia Saga Purutira Mogu, Sia Purutira Mogu Gorai, Gulu Atochi Tira, Urandiva Editi Lady Pilla. Riti lady at the Fevie New York and Nevido Yelana Gia Nevido J. Pamela Tila Dojo Tia and Nevido J. Chevido Yanya Yeleno Bentilam Dinyani Poala Madama era Pati Wida look over there. Savana, Tarana. Samasana Pidivida. Go to Torment Timina, Redama, Ripandi, Lulu Yodara. Caesar Lutira Maho, Radnale Tabu Bedama. Caesar Hakoventi Maho.
Like this, if one observes effectively, starting with even small objects, if one applies effort, ardent effort, and accurate aim, most of the time, a lot of the time, many times, then every time the mind falls collectedly on the object, one will know its true nature. So whether falling on hardness, one will know the hardness. When the mind falls on something soft, one will know the softness. When the mind falls on something coarse, one will know the coarseness. Or something hard and solid, one will know that. Or something soft and flowing, one will know that. One will know thinking, one will know knowing, contact, feeling. All these are true nature. And when one rubs against these qualities a lot, there will be pativeda, which is penetrative knowledge. This is knowledge that does not arise because we read about it, or because we heard about it, or discussed it. This is knowledge that comes because of our own direct observation. And this knowledge starts out being immature, but it grows to become mature. It starts out small, and it becomes large, and it expands. So this is what pativeda is, penetrating and knowing. So there's savana, listening, dharana, remembering, samasana, taking it to heart, applying it, and pativeda, coming to know, penetrate in a penetrative way. So one reaches that point, and this is not knowledge that is due to reflection or thinking about things.
Era sansura body, sansura, pepeka. Podamia hari, pepeka, pepeka, pivisum dira. Era go palilu, Sambodhi look over. Sadi moho, Tutamianti moho, Saint-Damia, Janzi tira moho. Tilo debe, Yavarama. To Yolu tira maho. The ma Pepega, Pibison tira, Golden tira, so I left in a manada. Pibison tira. It had Sambodhi, that ma. Party later, less will lose it, so yeah. People think I took at this sari so a time only. Korea, Potamia, took at this sago, later.
The thing that is known in this way, through Pativeda, every arising, it's known from all sides. It's known completely. And this is indicated by the prefix sam. So this is called Sambodhi, knowing in a complete way. This is not knowledge that arises through hearing. Sutta Miyanyana. It's not theoretical knowledge. It's not reflective knowledge, Chinta Miyanyana. It's not knowledge that arises because we heard it from somebody else. It is a complete knowledge of our own. And what is known is that whatever arises is the truth of suffering.
Eri Sambodhi, Golden Tipu. Tuma, to what is a didore solution? Hello, Mamati Wu solution, no. Mati to a data. Ho, to a data. Tayatameta, Tayatamu, the Nawana, Tayatameta, Swellanda, Meta, Italy, Pilla, Count to 11, take memora. Chanda to 11, take memora, quite you know. See a Chonglushi 11, Chanda, Tonda, that another. Near Tayada, that I will in his own company of Dikama, then I don't know there. They don't let that if you are looking, they don't let that you did tell you, Chita. You know, go, boy, a lady, pose like with a shoe, you know. See, Madia TV solution, I remember that I am Pamashia Tilatane, Mati Yauto, a tea outdoor, Mati Piao, the Matida Lamshiro, Mandito, a Lueti Lamshiro, a Lueti, Conrad Tonda Metana, Era Lamshiro. Poviro le Venezuela Tonda Metanari Agilame. Pitwaria Naves or Nagong or Tatua Ves or Avoli. Chiwata, Soli Ves or Avoli, to live at Yonina. Shulu Madia Tiduavi solution, Quedavi solution. Kuna Sosabinga Pugari Harileve, Bahama Picumiaro, Pedini Harileve, a lolo pevida Pitore, Kindora, Shindora, Weda, Pere Coravabe. And a Dogatisa, Pacha di Jimsi. CAG, a Chanturia Tisa, Picumia, Pelated Omuave. The Rupila Lushuma Vido Pera, let's see the Lovoli, a go Picum Pera, Peleta. Two Niama Pera, Peleta. Lutia, Tanlota, Niama, Yoga, Utalushi, no Lavido Time. Tangumia, the Bogori, Utara, Diaro. Erodama, Atiga, Utaro, Mati, Tiboma Mionano, T. Malam Yonano, Salatamate and Hale, the Mashikumiero, Swellane Ubara Moli, Diatame Vido, Swellana Leshire, Yusa Luema Vido, Swellana, she, Edinamu Pan, Boro, Tucumiera.
Sambodhi, one's own knowledge. If this Sambodhi knows the truth of suffering, if there's not knowledge of the truth of suffering, then one clings. So one doesn't know what is really there, and one clings to it. One becomes attached, one craves and clings. When we think something is good, then we become quite attached to it. And so when one encounters something one likes, one clings to that. This is craving, the truth of suffering. And the truth of the cause of suffering. And if one encounters with suffering on difficult situations, one also craves because one wants to be rid of them. So this can also be the cause for craving to arise. And when things are neutral also, one also likes this situation. So in these ways craving can arise, tanha. But whenever something arises, if we observe it, and if we then know the truth of suffering, because of this knowing, not knowing is dispelled. Because of this knowing in the wrong way is dispelled. And there will be no craving, no tanha. So if tanha arises, when we don't observe, this will arise. And then on top of craving for something, there will be the thought that this is I, the view of self. And on the other hand, if one observes and knows, these will be dispelled, the craving and this view of I. So that's why it is said in the text that by knowing the truth of suffering, its cause is dispelled. Its cause is dispelled in that we don't give it a chance to arise. So similarly, if someone is already sitting in a chair, if one person gets there first and sits down in a chair, then another person can't come to that chair and sit down. There's already somebody there. And in the same way, when knowledge arises for the object that we are observing, then not knowing cannot take place. Not knowing. And knowing in the wrong way also. There's no chance for that to come. There's no chance for craving to arise, tanha. There's no chance for clinging, upadana, to arise. And there's no chance for in connection with craving and clinging, there's no chance for wrong belief to arise. So none of these things can come when knowledge is there. These are eliminated.
Eri kaita lima dakweji lelu shiye. Alin yauto amolulu piausura milu wali. Deke amandiago ati alinda wenlara neve. Matimu oisa de era tu niyamiaro. Pikwamiaro era chongjindora. Amati da leve pikwamiaro era chongjindora. Matilu tuere tana era le chongjindora. Ubara da le chongjindora. Oisa tana ubara kore tama. Di shi bai boli. Dukha Kuto Maria solution the Kilita Wata at a Psicoya Yingorabe, era Nirora Korabe. Todo Shulu did a Kaita Lima Matimu Asap Jokwedorali, era Libo, Psicumia, Dalobe, era Dinga Nirora Korea. Adi impakali pite kaita lima boli. Mashulo shi psikun shi de kuna aweza sa inga seipai ni boli. Era di psikun ya data tinga ni rora luko boli. Tekana le boli. Dinya pite kamara. Tinga ni rora chok dwara ba.
At this moment, if we analyze the components, if we analyze what is happening, it's analogous to when light enters, then darkness is eliminated. When one knows the true Dhamma, when one knows what is really there, then avidya, not knowing, ignorance, is ended. It comes to an end. And also, knowing in the wrong way, it ceases. It comes to an end. Craving, which occurs because one doesn't know, this also comes to an end. And also clinging, the advanced form of craving. This also comes to an end. So these three, avidya, tanha, upadana, ignorance, craving, and clinging, these are the cycle of kilesas. And this comes to an end. This is nirodha, or cessation. At the start, when we're starting our observation, it's ignorance that is dying down. And this is called tadanga nirodha. This is could be translated as momentary cessation. So in the first part, this is the cessation of avidya. When knowledge arises on the object, then there's this tadanga nirodha.
Adi kaita lema tulokolo Dhamma pokori ma phite kudo sei lebe phikkumiyaro bawa phisi tate odakami kudo era phikkumiyaro bawa swiya lumyauk sei de oda kudo ro phit nida da be agudo garo adi amakale phit nide kaita ma ro ba agudo ma mwen ro di ro adi kaita ma so lo shi yin Pawagam Pisitate Utagami Kutule Mapsi Pawazo Pisi Nine Agutule Adu Kanle Mapsi Edari Yingari Edari Mapsi Wuzulochi Nabawa Achuleve Vipaka Wata Sarale Yingora Bo Dini Neve Borai Ayo Shulu Pipi Sozo Pame Chaja Titoleja Neve Edi Etiha Kirita Woleve Chosi Chongizi Nene Kama Woleve Chongizi Nene Vipaka what Kore a Joe Vipaka Woleve Chongizi Nene Otoma di Mapiatora, Kaitan Piatora. Eddie Otoma Piata had a Niroda, Chonginora, the Ringa Niroda Kore. Eddie Chongimu lady Miyaji Yaon, Josaniarava. Eddie Chongimu lady Piazon Gavis, the gate is an Niroda, the gate Chongimu to it.
At this moment, the ordinary type of wholesomeness, which causes us to have new lifetimes, which causes existence, this can't arise. And the only type of kusala that can arise at this moment where the kilesas are subsiding, are being eliminated, is the type of wholesomeness that brings an end to our samsaric existence. No unwholesomeness at all can arise at this moment. So the type of kusala which causes us to have good existences, and also the akusala, unwholesomeness, which causes bad existences, both of these die down. Sorry. And in that way, the cycle of karma has ended. And because the cycle of karma ends, the cycle of results also, vipakavata, comes to an end. Because of knowledge, kilesas, the cycle of kilesas, kilesavata, the cycle of karma, actions, comes to an end, and the cycle of results, vipakavata, these all come to an end because of the moment of knowing. And this is called tadanga nirodha, or temporary cessation, momentary cessation. So we are trying to get a lot of this tadanga nirodha. We want to get a lot of this, because if we do, then eventually we will get to this achanta nirodha, this lasting cessation.
The pay and do omnio take yama. Do you go to ten a telum? We have a tap phone, Yashi, tap on to the day. Tiema tap on to the Quajila Lucia. Don't also pani. Tila also, Tamari also, Pina also, Sarabari. Tila also, Saragaro. Majulon Dite, the Kone no de Juloyame, a chin zori go volley, or Tilane, that is Malopa Woos or Willow volley. That is Sautini Vares Ravoli, that is Sauti Tara go. To the solution, Shebatilas or Yanes or Unite Cabo. Tilara busy nene. Shuma time pane ingari yito chichazo. Pomu pemuga sa lengi podmia ayo. Maluta manebo ya adwe. Erisi sekli katwa ao. Purvin tong a. Atabaluna Wuria, the Wuria Korabo. Teddy Wodia ha just that thought a coupe. In at a coupe to Tapaya. A pin to as a girita, Picumia out, do a Taya. Good old Lanjang point on to a Tatan. The digger says him, Ninyamuya or Kawere, so shouted, long shoulder. The car lonely Lucy, Yandumu and the lower. The digger said a told Shayani solution. Yagadota more agreed at the Mumu to a Kawetala. So, Miss Shimide, I was a say that piano Pupana bombs you. I was the say of the Lamshido. Eddie Tom Yoga. A pin to Lucian, the team may be shown as say Susie Pierlucin Edare. Conatiazo de Piquin Ishide. Lame said him. Edare Chinido, said him up Shinade. Priutanagita like Yanira. The money making Tomba level to my party, Yogi, for it, I own a simple in a tail, you assume who party. It has something about making quarter. You assume the law, you assume that I own a potay leader to live a part over it. I'm going to do it, make a ship at my table. Resume and do a little father. Pimago, Champi, Peter Cadero, tea daughter. There I got a coup, Champi at a coup, tea man, tea man at the over. Yea, I feel adorable. Tea man and tea daughter, somebody making a pit daughter. I own the young. I own that tell change a bit at the one, the one man lady titi dwaraga. Someone think about making it, somebody making it, the pina making the bar. The money making tomba, pina making the bar. But then I own sure the water out tea, Eddie Navaga, Mira Pandita. Bali Koro, Pansika make for it. In a Navani piece of net, Nipantoya Lanjao. Shunida Camaro, Junuziago, shown at the border of Mababu. Davine Serenaria of Pianida. Eddie Serenaria, Tila making it. Tila making Tomba. Tamari making Tomba, Pina making the bar. The Nipantoya Lanjo. Eradiga, Poya Matiari, Pistia me, Tuba on Piluya Matiari, Tua on Pio Matiari, Mia on Piluya Matiari. Eradichita Lonia. The Potina Puara. Todo tuaro ria maya shi bai ma phit de lan jaung mo lo tu ko Pubbapaka mekka lo khawပါတယ်shi bai mekkin shi pye mekkin ariya maya shi bai mekkin ariya maya shi pye mekkin lo di loကျမ်းဂန်မြန်မာသုံးထားပါတယ်အခုယောဂီတွေပွားနေတာဟာအဲ့ဒီariya maya shi pye mekkinတွေပါပဲဒီလိုတွေလုံးထိနေပေါ်သမီးအာယုံမလွတ်တမ်းမှတ်နေအောင်လို့ကြောင်းကြစိုက်တယ်မလွတ်ဘူးဒီမှာစိုက်ကြတယ်အောင်ဒီမှာစိတ်နဲ့တဲ့တယ်သဘောမှလည်းသိနေတာတိရသမารီမဲ့ခင်ပညာမဲ့ခင်သုံးပါးပြည့်စုံနေတာပဲအဲ့ဒါစက္ကန့်တိုင်းဒီလိုလုပ်နိုင်လို့ရှိရင်စက္ကန့်တိုင်းမှာအဲ့ဒီပုဗ္ဗဘကရှေ့ပြေးမဲ့ခင်ဟာတစ်ချက်မှလို့တစ်ချက်တည်သွားရင်တစ်ချက်နောက်တစ်ချက်မှတစ်ချက်တည်တဏှာကြီး10မိနစ်မှလို့ရှိရင်စက္ကန့်ပေါင်း60အချိန်ပေါင်း60 9မိနစ်တည်နေလို့ရှိရင် Jimou Toya. Poya Metiari Gutama. Do on Pow, Miao, Pow, Gurupinida.
To overcome the enemy can't be done with just one soldier. So we need an army. And let's look at what is involved in this army. There's 3 groups. The group of Sila, the group of Samadhi, and the group of Panya. So the group of Sila is what overcomes the gross misdeeds. One avoids these. And the lay people here take 8 precepts. The monks have their Vinaya, and this is what we take at the start. Every moment of observation, there are also factors present. We should look and see what they are. When one observes every arising object, starting with the rising and the falling, first of all, there's ardent effort to get the mind to the object. This is one soldier that has to be present. He must be there. And this ardent effort overcomes extreme laziness and other kilesas, and it opens the path for other wholesomeness, other kusala to come in. Sati follows effort, and this protects the mind so that it is secure. When sati is continuous, then raga, dosa, and moha, greed, hatred, and delusion, can't enter the mind. These are blocked out, kept away by sati. And because of sati, the mind falls collectedly on the object. It's unified. It doesn't go elsewhere. So then the akusala cannot come in. So the kilesas are overcome in every moment of observation. They can't arise. So this is the group of samadhi, maganga, the path factors of samadhi. And then we also apply accurate aim to observe the object. This is called in Pali sama sankappa. Because of accurate aim, the mind rubs against the object, and this is the quality of vichara, but it is not one of the path factors. But it is present. When one aims, then one rubs against the object because the aim is accurate. And at that time, one becomes definite about what the object is. Knowledge arises, one knows. So in this group, there's the factor of accurate aim, or sama sankappa, and the factor of knowing, or samaditi. So these are the 2 factors that are part of the panya group of the path, the wisdom group. Therefore, because of our observation with the method of satipatthana, in every moment of observation, there are 5 factors of the path arising. And this is called the 5-limbed path to Nibbana. Sila is involved, although we are not in a situation where we're transgressing. We're not confronted with situations where we're going to have a chance to break our sila. But we have the intention to keep sila should the situation arise. So this is how sila is present. It's present on the level of cetana, intention. So therefore, the 3 factors of the path that involve sila, the sila group, are present. And the samadhi group of 3 factors is also present. And the panya group, of the wisdom group of 2 factors, is also present. And this is the path to Nibbana. this path is to be developed, to be strengthened, to be enlarged. But at first, this path occurs prior to the noble path. So therefore it is called the forerunner path, or Pobabhaga Magga. It is not the noble path yet, but the yogis are walking this path. So in the application of effort and aiming the mind, sati arises and the mind falls collectedly. And because of the collectedness of the aiming of the mind connects with the object, and there's knowledge. So the factors of effort, mindfulness, concentration, accurate aim, and panya, as well as the sila on a cetana level, these are all arising every second that one observes. So this is what one needs to develop. Every second of observation, this path occurs. And if one observes 60 times per minute, then that will be, if one observes every second, then this will be 60 times in a minute. And in 1 hour, it will be 3,600 times that this path occurs. So this is how one develops the path. One makes it, one expands it, one strengthens it.
Yogi ya agu korega phipye nide dukkha thissaတရားကိုဖြစ်တုံးဖြစ်ဆဲမှာလို့ကိုလိုသတိပဋ္ဌာန်နည်းရရှုလို့ဒုက္ခသစ္စာတစ်မျိုးတည်းဒါရိုက်သိလိုက်တာပါပဲရှင်းသွားတာပဲဒါမှလို့တစ်ချက်ခုတ်လေးချက်ပြတ်ဆိုတဲ့အတိုင်းပေါ့လေဖိုးအတာဘလို့ဆိုတဲ့အတိုင်းပေါ့လေပိုက်ချသိတဲ့အတွက်အခုလိုမရှိလို့ရှိရင်ဖြစ်ခွင့်ရှိတဲ့သမုဒိယသစ္စာကိုလည်းပဲပယ်မှုကိစ္စအလိုလိုဖြစ်ရှိသွားတယ်ရှိမှတ်တဲ့စိတ်တွေထဲမှာဓာတ်ခွဲကြည့်လိုက်လို့ရှိရင်ခုနမဂ္ဂင်၈ပါးလည်းပါနေတယ်ရှေ့ပိုင်းမဂ္ဂင်၈ပါးအဲ့ဒီမဂ္ဂင်၈ပါးဖြစ်နေတဲ့အခိုက်အတန့်မှာပွားနေတဲ့အခိုက်အတန့်မှာကိလေသာကိုသုံးဝိသယသုံးပါးငြိမ့်နေတယ်ကိလေသာဝတ္တလည်းငြိမ့်နေတယ်ကာမဝတ္တလည်းငြိမ့်နေတယ်ဥပက္ခဝတ္တလည်းငြိမ့်နေတယ်ဒီငါငြိမ့်နေတယ်အဲ့ဒါအလိုလိုကိစ္စပြီးစီးနေတာပဲတိပယ်ဆိုင်ပွား၄ပါးအချက်တပြိုင်နက်မိတ်ကိစ္စဒီတဲ့အခုလိုလောကီခိုက်တတ်မှာတော့သစ္စာ၄ပါးတည်းကကိုယ်လက်လန်းဖြီတဲ့ဒုက္ခသစ္စာကိုပေါ်လုံးပေါ်စလေးမှာရှုလို့တည်တိုင်းဒုက္ခသစ္စာတည်တာနဲ့ပဲသမုဒယသစ္စာပယ်မှုကိစ္စဖြီးချသွားတယ်ဟိုသုံးပါးလည်းပဲချုပ်ငိမ့်သွားတယ်အဲ့ဒီဟိုသုံးပါးချုပ်ငိမ့်တဲ့စီလည်းပဲကောနာပုဗ္ဗဗကမက်တီလည်းပွားပြီးသားဖြစ်သွားတယ်တစ်ချက်ခုလေးချက်ပြတ်ဆိုတော့ဘယ်လိုကောင်းလဲကြာဖိုးအတာဘလို့ဆိုတာဒါပဲဘယ်လောက်တန်ဖိုးရှိတယ်လဲယူသေးသေးလေးလေးဆဆဆေးဆဆမှတ်တဲ့ယောဂီပုဂ္ဂိုလ်တွေဟာအတိညာဖြစ်တိုင်းအဲ့ဒီဟာရနေတာပါပုပ္ပဆဆလုပ်တဲ့ပုဂ္ဂိုလ်တွေအဲ့ဒီဟာဆုံးရှုံးသွားတာပဲဒါပဲပို့ပို့စားလို့ရှိရင်ပို့ဆုံးရှုံးတယ်ပို့မလေးစားလို့ရှိရင်ပို့ဆုံးရှုံးတယ်ဒါပဲဒီတော့အလုပ်လုပ်ရပြီးတော့ဆုံးရှုံးမှုဖြစ်တယ်ဆိုအမျက်မထွက်ဘူးဆုံးရှုံးမှုဖြစ်တယ်ဆိုမကောင်းဘူးအမျက်ထွက်ရမယ်တမန်တော်အတွင်းဘလောက်တန်ဖိုးရှိတယ်လဲဆိုတော့ကြည့်ဖို့နောက်ဝိပဿနာဉာဏ်နဲ့ပြည့်စုံသွားပြီဆိုလို့ရှိရင်ချုပ်ခြင်းတဲ့နိဗ္ဗာန်တွေ့သွားမှာပဲအဲဒီကကြတော့နိဗ္ဗာန်မြင်ကကျွင်းသစ္စာမှန်စွာသိမှုပြီးတဲ့တရားဝင်တခါလည်းလက်မှတ်သူကိစ္စတွေပြီးရှိသွားတာအခုကတော့ဒုက္ခမြင်ကကျွင်းသစ္စာမှန်စွာသိမှုပြီးကိုယ်တွေကပေါ်သမျှဒုက္ခသစ္စာတွေကို Didi Chaja Yudi says my Tito Mabe. The Matipio Gona, the Mudiati Salepsicumia Gona, Udoma Leve, Kaitan Chonging to me. She by Puvaga Metal, Puavida Pitwame. Palo Tambushi, the Hadres Rajiva, the Lord Tambushi, a local Lote Kama. Mayumadine, Popo Saza Boli. Masimasa Lopi solution or the Chuyahu Malabo. The Matama Prima, Palo Chuchi Sushi, what is a Tambu, Nale Video Boli. Namia no ne. Second name Boli, the Amano Yang, Chusa Atun and Yapa Zelu, Lilin and the Doin at the Nate Tamabido, the Ao Piolipare, Davabe Dine.
Because they are observing every arising and the truth of suffering which arises within them. Because they observe this, the yogis know the truth of suffering. And this is being accomplished. But in fact, there are 4 things that happen. 4 things are being accomplished at this moment. Because one observes and knows the truth of suffering in one's body, one dispels the truth of its cause. So if we analyze also the moments that are, the factors that are present as one observes in this forerunner path, the path Pobabhaga Mega, there are 8 factors present of this path. So the path, when in the moment of observation, the cycles of kilesas, of kama, of vipaka results, these are all coming to an end. These are all ceasing. So, and the path is being developed each moment. So, as it is said, know, dispel, realize, develop. These are the 4 functions of the path. So every time, every time one observes, one is knowing the truth of suffering, dispelling its cause, and realizing the cessation of these cycles of kilesas, kama, and vipaka, and they're developing the path to this realization, to this cessation. So this is 4 at a blow, and it is very valuable. One should just think about how valuable this is. So for yogis who practice with respect, meticulous care, and without taking breaks, they get this knowledge every moment of observation. And people who are careless, they don't get this. They have a loss. And the less careful one is, the more careless one is, the more of a loss one will incur. So one shouldn't let oneself settle for a loss. So one should realize how valuable one moment of observation is, and try to observe every moment, because then at the end one will realize nibbana. So now, at the moment, whenever we know the arising, when we know every arising truth of suffering in our body, with that knowledge, ignorance is being dispelled, and craving, which is the cause of suffering, is dispelled. We also have, with that moment of knowing, there's momentary cessation, tadanga nirodha, of kama, of kilesas, kama, and results. And the forerunner path is being developed. So it is very valuable to be respectful, meticulous, and continuous in the practice, because one gets this benefit. And if one is not respectful, meticulous, and careful, and continuous, then one won't get this benefit. So Sayadawgyi urges all the yogis and hopes that by knowing how valuable each moment of application of the practice is, may you practice with respect, care, and continuity and get the benefits of the path. That's all for today. Sadhu.